slowly do one of the trickier, probably the trickiest topic in the Bhagavad Gita that opens up the Bhagavad Gita from like a normal person reading it and a person reading it with some theological understanding of what the specific terms mean. So we'll be doing 3.27 and 3.28, which we've touched on at a sort of superficial level. And then we'll go into them in a bit more detail.
Which one is it?
3.27 and then 3.28. It's the third chapter, 27th verse. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll first do the introductory prayer and then I'll discuss this. Om Jana Timarandasya Janam Jana Salakya Kaksurum Militam Yena Tasme Sri Guru Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnuta Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parishanaya Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visam Samvitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopikanta Radha Kanto Namostute Tapta Kancha Gorangi Radha Vrindasari Visabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamai Haripriye Panchakalpataruscha Vipasundve Evacha Patitanaya Pavanavayo Vaishnava Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Saraswati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for coming. Give me the mercy of your association. So, I think what I'll do is I'll explain a bit first before we go into the verse, and the verse will be a bit easier. I'm just going to close the other point because I can't really see you. Flips back up, it's very close in. Maybe it doesn't work. Yeah, I'm trying to get my children to learn this first, so we have to do it really slowly. Kriya Manani. And then try to sort of repeat that. Okay.
We can start getting them in.
Yeah, I'm getting some printed.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm getting some printed, yeah. We're just waiting for some quotes. Yeah. So, I'm going to explain this using Lego and toy cars. Which, and it'll be a lot easier.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a lot easier. So, I'm not sure if this is going to come up on the camera. Hopefully. Okay, so here is a normal family sedan, as they call it in America. And he's a normal kind of guy. Okay. And then I'm actually missing a car. So we'll have to use our imagination. We might be missing two cars. Here is obviously a sports car with a funky guy with a racing helmet on. Right. Yeah. And I hope you're going to get at the end and go, ooh, I get it now. And I was thinking a long time how to explain this, and it's like, this is the best way to do this, I think. Right. And this is we'll pretend he's got a head. And do you all know what a monster truck is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I couldn't find one at home, so you have to imagine this guy gets given a monster truck, a big monster truck, and it's one of those monster truck rallies where they crush other cars. Right? Okay. All right. Okay. So these are. I want you to think of these as souls. Right? These are souls going through different bodies, right? Depending on their different desires. The desires coupled with the pros and cons of their action. Right? So as they get on, they do some good stuff, they get better bodies, blah, 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 and Krishna tries to fulfill their desires. Right? So this guy, like, he's getting a normal family sedan, right? Drive around, do his job, be happy with it. Right? So that's going to be his body. These cars are the bodies these souls are going to inhabit. Right? So we can call that the mode of goodness. So he's just going to do his stuff, be happy. I'm so good. I do my job. I like it. I love my life. I love my job. I love my wife. I love my car. That kind of guy. Right? This is a racing car, and this body wanted a kind of a car to really, really enjoy. This soul wanted a car to really enjoy. So it's got this fast, super fast body, which looks awesome and has all the looks, and he's famous and that sort of stuff. And he's done the previous work, previous karma to get this body. Right? So he's like, I'm going to enjoy, gratify my senses in this body of mine. This car's going to be shown everywhere and everyone's going to look at it. That's the mode of passion. Bhagavad Gita. And then my non-existent monster truck guy is like, I want to get the body that I can use to crush other people and just enjoy becoming the lord of things. And have the biggest monster truck and go to a monster truck rally and crush all the other cars, right? So literally that you see in the Bhagavad Gita, that's the mode of ignorance. Now, you don't just get this body, because that becomes the soul, because of his desires, also needs a kind of a transmission to kind of convert its desires in its body, into the body, into what it wants to do, right? So the other half of the coin is, it comes with that mentality of needing that mentality that would be required to enjoy that body. Okay, we call this a subtle body in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, this is going to explain a lot of stuff that happens in the Bhagavad Gita. So, to explain that point, if I swap these two drivers around, the guy who is, the kind of guy who's going to drive a normal car, and put him in a race car, right? Race car body, he's going to be like driving around, not going too fast, playing a bit safe, and he's not going to maximize his body really. Yeah. At the same time, if I put this more passionate nutcase kind of driver guy into this normal sedan, he's going to screech the wheels off and run it ragged, run around the corners really fast, because that's his mentality. So we call that the subtle body, right? So the physical body and the subtle body are very important to understand, right? And what happens, one of the things that Krishna tells Arjuna at the very start of the Bhagavad Gita is, even if you don't want to fight, even if you arrive, you go from the forest and do nothing, all the karma that's happened to you before as a result of the modes of nature, the complex mix of these three modes in your body, because you're born a warrior, that's what you've become, because that's what you wanted all the way in your previous lives. You're going to end up fighting anyway. It's just fate. You'll hide in the forest, they'll come after you, or eventually you'll get bored and go after that. You cannot avoid your own nature. Right? That's why towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, Krishna is saying, be the car, be the driver, and have the car, use the car for what it's made for. Do what you're supposed to do in terms of your nature. It's almost too late to unravel all that now, right? But there's one little layout. So we're not in control, we're not in control. And actually, as you go into deeper and deeper understandings of what your body is and what you're not, you realize that you have less and less control. So if we just read 3.27 slowly together now, and then read the translation, you'll see what I'm trying to get at with this illustration. So, Prakriti Kriyamanani Guna Karmani Sarvasya Ankara Vimuduta, important phrase, Kartaham iti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of the false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities which are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So we're going to take this really slowly, okay? Firstly, there's two things that happen under the influence of the false ego, right? So what's going to happen is This guy in the mode of passion is racing this car. This soul actually starts to think that he's this car. He gets confused between what he actually is and what's happening. Yeah? So he goes, let's say the car spun around the track and went really fast. He goes, and he's just basically, it's on autopilot, for example, right? He said, well, I did that, even though it was on self-drive. Yeah? But that's a soul just in this body. And the nature of this body, as soon as you put the accelerator down, it doesn't go to 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 8 seconds like this car, 10 seconds. It does it in 3 seconds. You can't escape that. But he thinks he's responsible. No, I'm the guy that got to the position of being the racing driver. No. Me, I'm the doer, I'm the doer. Because that constant thinking, I'm the body is doing it, the body's me. Right? So one of the first big punch in the face of Arjuna's arguments is this idea that he goes, oh, if I kill them, then they'll kill me. It's wrong to kill them. And it's like, well, you're speaking as if you think you're the car. You're this body, and you're somehow the doer of this. Now, ultimately, the material nature is under my command. That means your psychological nature, your impetus for being attracted to oranges rather than pears, is all given by Krishna. It's not actually you, you're the soul. Okay? That's very superficial, this kind of, and it's mind blowing. You mean I'm not this, I'm not Steve that likes hand gliding on the weekends? No, you're not actually hand gliding, right? That's just a temperament that that's come to you from all your previous lives. That's not you. That's part of the clever illusion. If you think that's you, you're in the illusion. It's like in the film The Matrix. If they think they're actually eating the stuff and breathing. And I think in the film, Lawrence Fishburne goes to Keanu Reeves. Do you think that's air you're breathing? But actually, that statement, when they're in that imaginary world training area, and he says to them, why are you going like this? There's no air in here. You're in a computer program. The soul doesn't breathe. It doesn't breathe. You don't breathe. Because you're not the body. Your body's breathing. The soul's not breathing at all. So then we enter into this more slightly deeper level of understanding of what the hell is going on here. Right? I got upset. I got upset at work. My goodness. But hang on. Krishna says to Arjuna in chapter 2 that the soul is not burnt. It can't be dried. It can't be withered. So how are you getting upset? Oh, you think you're this thing with neurological connections that have been impacted by emotion. You think that's you. It's not. That's the illusion. And the way to the only way to get around this, the only thing that can suppress the modes is bhakti. It's 9 forms of devotional service. Right? Because the modes of nature and the material energy are under Krishna's influence. Right? Both from the way the material energy is created and the fact that the modes were there to reform you, to eventually get you to realize that that's not what you actually are. Okay? So all of us are coming to this point of studying the Bhagavad Gita. We've done so much previous work in our previous lives to get a human form of life that we can come to the Bhagavad Gita, go and study Bhagavad Gita, and get you're literally now on the kind of last bit of the mountain climbing up it, in this life, And as one Swami told me, he said, almost certainly most people in Krishna consciousness will go back to Godhead. Because what starts happening through the chanting and through yes, you wanted to attend here, but Krishna made you attend here as well. Super Soul's allowing this to happen. Because he's actually now, you've done so much bhakti that he's putting in the road to get you out of here, right? And what he's got to make sure you really understand is that you're not this body. You're not the car, you're the driver. Yeah? Now, in reality, what happens, as Krishna says, is people are normally in a mixture of these modes, depending on their mentality and the bodies they've chosen, right? But mainly one mode is predominating. Yeah? So, in the 14th chapter, we talk about, there's the guy who goes, well, what do you do? Well, I work for a children's museum. I'm really important. I'm doing something for kids. I go home. I feel happy every day. I'm doing something for society. I feel really good about myself. And Krishna says that's the mode of goodness, it's giving, it's doing something nice, but it still binds you. Because your ultimate pleasure for your senses is you're taking pleasure for yourself from material energy. Right? You're not interested in me. That's what interests you, that's what gives you a kick. Right? So that's going to keep bringing you back into the material world. Right? The mode of passion, mainly people who just like the whole world at the moment is driven by the world of passion, right? It's about how do I get more and more enjoyment for myself, my senses. Right? And further, whatever chance they've got in this human form of life, they're going to miss it. Under these governments in the world that are only interested in basically vote for me and I'll make more sense gratification for you. You can't sort of stand up and go, vote for me, there's going to be less and less enjoyment every day. Like it's not going to work, right? And the reason I'm doing that is because I want you to go back to Godhead and vote for me. Imagine a ballot paper or something. You stood on ABC News and like, what the hell, this guy's going crazy, right? So we're here in a world that's actually constantly changing to kind of kick people to get out of sense gratification. And sometimes they just wouldn't have done the work in their previous lives to approach Krishna in human form of life. So the only chance they'll ever get out coming out of this world is if a devotee shows them a picture of Krishna, or gives them a Bhagavad Gita, or like talks about Krishna for a minute, even if they go, and they're not offensive, they go, not for me. That non-offensive moment, the contact with the Lord, is what will get them escalating out of it. And Krishna is amazing. He's like he's infinitely amazing at everything, and he's infinitely amazing at building life rafts. So the smallest thing, he'll catch you out of the ocean and pull you out. Imagine there's a stormy ocean and everyone's lost in it. But Krishna's got the most amazing rescue helicopter. It's like ultra infrared. It can spot body heat and pull you out. So I think one of the kind of things that comes out of the verse is, how am I conducting myself each day as I progress in my bhakti, where I come out of this idea that I'm not the body. And the reason it's hard is because when you've been taught how to speak as a child, and therefore taught how to think, you've been taught how to think and speak from a language that's designed for people to think they're the body. Because my parents, for example, are pretty materialistic. They were born in a Vedic kind of culture, but they're pretty materialistic. So for them, it's like, when am I going to get my next nice car? When am I going to get my next apartment? When am I going to build my property empire? What am I doing? Overseas. So, and dangerous if you form attachments. So we have all been given a language which leads to our thoughts of the bodily conception of life. That's the reason we find this difficult. And what we're doing is most of the time we're thinking in this language. It's like, what do I want to eat? That's a very common question devotees will ask. And what you have to start doing is you understand jnana yoga is going, I don't need to eat, I'm the soul, I'm not the body. My body can only eat if it's happening with Krishna. So what does Krishna want me to cook for him? And after he's eaten, what can I do to nourish my body so that I can do more bhakti? Because that's actually what I am. I'm a soul, and therefore I'm part of Krishna. My job is to do, my actual full-time job is to do bhakti. That's my real job. I've got to get myself to that position. And everything else is the mode's nature. It's this kind of subtle psychology that's happening with this body that's pushing in different directions. And you're stuck. You're actually stuck in these bodies, right? It's like this guy is trying to get this car, when he puts the foot down, to do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 12 seconds. It's just too fast. So he's got to really ask for a lot of favor from Krishna to say, keep me thinking about you, even though my car's going really fast. So it's a hard job. But when we learn the importance of jnana yoga, or knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, is I was in a class, an online Bhagavad Gita class last weekend, a couple of weekends ago, and they were saying that one of the reasons people leave ISKCON is because normally it's because some other devotees said something so horrible, or they've had a clash with somebody. And the reason some of us don't react to that is, and some of us do go out and go away, and unfortunately then potentially miss our chance of going back to Godhead, is because of knowledge. We don't have the knowledge. Because we don't understand that that person is also under the modes of nature, and they're also being influenced by their psychophysical nature, which has happened from their previous lives. Okay? And that's not them, they're the soul. Unless we really understand we're not the body, we're not going to be that forgiving to other people. And understand that they're not the body. So we have to start, like, and I do it, I sometimes make myself decaf tea or something, and I go, I fancy myself a cup of tea, and I go, decaf tea, I go, what do you mean you fancy? What, you the body or the tongue or something? I have to go, no, what did you actually mean to say? I have to like rectify myself as a school teacher and go, now rethink everything properly, right? Now, Prabhupada used to say that this phrase like, so many advanced devotees say, why do people say we're always so happy? We're always grinning, we're always laughing? Because once you realize that you're not this thing, like, you're not going to be anxious about anything. Why would you be? Because that anxiety is not you. It's something to do with, like, it's like having a cold. It's just going to come and go, right? So last week we ended this really wonderful question about that you made about I get worried about things or I'm anxious about things. Yeah. So I think where we're going to put the modes into this question, because I'm thinking about this. So if I go, remember there's two circles I drew.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to come out on camera. So you've got your I'm sure Keshav Swami has done a talk on this, by the way, last year. So that's something to, if you ever want to carry on. So this is your circle of influence. You're going to like this. And this is your circle of, so this is your circle of, circle of influence, right? This is your circle of concern. Okay. This is what you worry about. Now what happens is as you progress in circle of influence and circle of concern, this is what you're worried about, this bit here, what a different colour. Concern. Yeah. That bit there. That's what you get worried about, think about, And this is a circle of influence. This is this bit here, which is what you can actually control. Now, what's actually going on from Jnana Yoga point of view here is this is the body you've been given and the karma you've been given to control and not control certain things. And that's all you're allowed to do, right? That's your permission from Krishna, which is limited. I want to jump over a building, I can't do that, I don't have a body for it. Right? My soul may want to do it, but I just haven't been given that power. I'm in the wrong yuga for that. Maybe in the previous yuga I had a different body, I could had a monkey body, I could have done it like one of the monkeys of Ramayana. I can't do it. So this is the bit where the soul's still desiring to move things, still wanting to do stuff, but it hasn't got it. It hasn't the psychological nature, hasn't the physical nature, right? So by understanding the limits in the modes of nature and the body, the physical and mental limits you possess, you stop worrying about these things you can't do, right? And what you actually start to do is go, well, I don't need to worry about all this stuff because I know. We did this last week, right? So we get the Karana Daksaya Vishnu, which is the Mahavishnu, which creates all the universes and puts a Vishnu inside all of them, right? Which is called Garbhodaksaya Vishnu. Right? And that puts a little Vishnu for our Vishnu every subatomic particle, right? So we know that we're not in control of this material energy. We're not. So, and we know that we have to stop pretending to be God. Right? The problem of thinking you're the God is like that guy who thinks he's the God. I did what I ran around the track. I'm not your soul. Soul doesn't get affected. Right? So thinking we're God is creating all these anxieties for us. Because we want to control and change something that we cannot change because we're here because we want to play God. Right? And so by changing our wanting to play God, you get these devotees which are like happy all the time. So they got to the point in Jnana Yoga where they realize Krishna's in control of their energy. Yeah? Prabhupada could go to New York in 1965 with a few dollars, a few rupees, into like some drug-drunken area. As an old man, he could have been beaten to a pulp because he's totally aware of Krishna's everywhere. Yeah? He doesn't have to worry. So what we want to understand is the nature of the self means this is different to this. I don't worry about this. I need to worry about the material world because Krishna's in charge. And Krishna's actually in charge of my body. One of the kind of core lines in the commentaries in the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna will bring your life to an end. He's there in your heart watching. So when you run out of the kind of, let's call it karma punya, or the benefits of previous lives, when that naturally draws to a close and your purpose is served, he will bring your life to an end. But if you got really close to Krishna and you've got this really deep relationship with him, that's not going to be an issue for you. But actually, probably by that stage, you just want to get out of it. You kind of, you figured it all out. You figured out the matrix, and you realise you're not actually breathing. The body's breathing. So that's what this will do is when you get having the jnana, when you get shocks in your devotional practice, or like I couldn't chant for a couple of days, or whatever, or something happened, or not that these things happen after a while, but it just brings you back on, that's my psychological nature, which isn't me. It's pulling me back into material energy. And it just kind of hones you back in. I haven't developed these bad habits, but I haven't developed them. My body's developing them. It's going back into those modes of nature. So I'm not those modes. Right? So if you look at the verse again, just read it again. See if you can read it out loud if you want.
Translation.
Yeah, translation, 327.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are an actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature.
Mine was really different. Mine is
327. You got the minute edition.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that different. So I've got that edition there.
Three modes of engagement, which is not the false ego.
Yeah, there is a slight difference in that version, but just go with the false ego. Yeah, there is a difference. I spotted that myself.
Why?
I think that's the original.
That's the original 68 edition, which was done by Millen. Yeah, there's a whole story behind this, which I'll tell you another time. So, there's a great video on it on YouTube. So the false ego, which is part of Krishna's elements that he's put in the material nature, is there to kind of condition souls. They think they're eating the chocolate. I'm wanting to eat it. I like chocolate. I'm going to go get a shop and get a chocolate. I'm going to wrap it. I'm enjoying it. Right? So both the kind of instinct, wanting to enjoy chocolate, is a product of the psychological nature which is created by modes of nature, which has already been pre-designated by previous births. Right? And the going to get it and eating it as well. Right? You are not doing any of those things. Right? For one, in jnana yoga, you are not doing that stuff. Okay? The soul cannot eat chocolate. It doesn't need to. Right? It's just a total illusion. Soul doesn't get upset. It doesn't get annoyed. Well, in the material sense of it, obviously in the spiritual, in its own pleasure sense, spiritual sense, it does in the spiritual world. But you can indulge me on this one for a moment. So what we're talking about is an illusion of things happening that are going on. If you go to a bookshop like Dillon's or Foyle's or Dimmock's, and you get a diary of a famous person, and you put this maybe to have this in your hand like this in a Dimmock's in front of the wall, and you're like looking at, today I did this, when I met that guy, I had a cup of tea, I met the Prime Minister, it's a famous person's diary. And you're going to go, they think they're doing all this stuff, which is actually carried out by three modes of material nature. They're not doing anything. They're being carried by these modes. And Krishna is in charge of those modes. He's in the heart game. Today they did this. He's got infinite memory. He's keeping a record of everything. And he's going, you lived your life mainly in the mode of goodness, bit of mode of passion, you did some good stuff, didn't really do any bhakti, didn't think religious. You might get another human body, or you might end up being a nice horse with a nice owner or something. That's already been done by the Lord. And what he's looking for is when somebody does the individual soul, how many births they're here for, say 10 trillion births, they do something exceptional that gets them back on the path of getting out of here. That's what he's interested in. That's what he's looking out for as a super soul. they saw one of my guys giving out books outside Melbourne train station, central Melbourne. They gave him $5. They started reading the Bhagavad Gita and they found a verse interesting. Krishna went, okay, next life I need to give him another opportunity. You know? And you show more curiosity in this next life. Okay. So why is it that people get annoyed at, oh, he's coming to the temple and he comes to this and he goes to Kirtan, he reads a couple of paragraphs, he goes away, I haven't seen him for 3 years, he's come back and done another Kirtan, come once to the temple, clean the floor, never saw him again. 3 lifetimes from now, that might be the greatest devotee in history. We don't know. So we can't judge. The reason we're judging is the modes of nature. We think we're the body, so there's a habit of judging. Right? And that's why we've ended up with the body, because we wanted to judge other devotees in the spiritual world, so we're kicked out. So we want to get back to this, like, I'm the soul, he's the soul. This is where he is on this journey. Hare Krishna, good luck to you. What can I do for you to kind of accelerate that? And Krishna goes, this guy's trying to do something for this guy. Let's give him some more pushing out brownie points. And the reason people start going on the getting out of here faster and faster is there's something go, they're in the meditation, they think they're the body. Let's give them some mercy. Let's give them some mercy somehow. And then you start getting these great devotees who go, okay, you might punch me in the face, but I'll try and give him some mercy. And Krishna, in superstar in your heart and in his heart, is going, wow, this guy's coming out now. It's kind of material world, So, but this takes time. We want to kind of address the language thing first. So if you look at the end of the handout, if you go to the last page, I'll read it out to you. I'll give 10 examples of the way we think in normal day-to-day life that where we can alter this idea that we're thinking with the body. Okay? So we brush our teeth, and we could be brushing our teeth because at some point we're going to be smiling at a picture of Krishna, and we don't want to have dirty teeth in our mouth. And that's the primary reason we brush our teeth. There's another benefit to it, which is our teeth don't rot. But the primary reason we do it is for that. Yeah? And it might also be for the mixture of we keep our teeth clean so that we can enjoy Mahaprasadam, or we can keep healthy so that we can do more Bhakti. So even the toothbrushing in the morning is about Krishna. It's no longer about the body, and I look really cool like Tom Cruise with my teeth, which is the bodily conception of life. It's thinking I'm the teeth and I'm this body, right? So we have to be very aware of the narrative that we are selling ourselves as we progress. And what will happen as soon as we start becoming aware, it's like when you teach someone to play golf, right? They're always going to, if they play cricket or tennis, they're always going to like do this. Whereas you don't do that with golf, you have to rotate your hands, right? But they have to come out of the habit of playing another sport into this sport, which takes time. So when you're coming out of the way of thinking that you've done your whole life, that your parents have told you how to think, you now need to go, I fell over, but keep trying to encourage yourself as if you're encouraging a baby to walk, to rethink the way you're thinking. And something really unusual is going to happen when you start this process, which is you're going to be like, oh, you're going to get lighter and lighter and lighter, because you're now not going to be concerned with these things that used to annoy you before, because they're not you. I can think of loads of stuff used to annoy me. I mean, even someone cutting in front of me in the traffic would annoy me, 10 years ago. What the hell, right? Because of Bhakti, I just go, where's nature, something's happening karmically, interact with something else that's going to happen. You might be going to work to yell at somebody who's done something bad and needs to be yelled at. I don't know what Krishna's in control, I don't know what he's trying to do. I'm not in control. My circle of influence is very small, Krishna. I'm not even going to worry about this guy honking me and getting past me, whatever. I keep out of the way, I don't want any adverse karma here. I just think of Krishna, stay above the modes of nature. Put some, show me a Bhagavatam class on in the car and listen to that, so I'm not even on the modes of nature. And then before you know it, you're kind of here, but you're not here. And life is not just not painful, it's like you're happy and happier and happier. Because you're actually surrendering. As you're giving up control, you're surrendering and you're surrendering and you're surrendering. You're getting closer and closer to Krishna. So the modes of nature, understanding of the modes of nature, which goes all the way through the Gita, particularly the last 6 chapters, is very fundamental. And it can be understood this simply. Just using these different racing cars, different bodies. The reason I want to slap that guy is because I've developed this psychological nature because of my previous lives. But that's not me. Stop doing it. It's time to change this. Stop the endless rebirth and stop the endless changing of the modes. I want to stop it now. And that becomes a serious person to get out of here. What time is it? I've got time to go to the next verse. No, I'll start. So have a look at the next verse, just in English now. Yeah. 3.28. What's happened to our Japan? I'll read out the Sanskrit. Tattva Vitu Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagyo Guna Guna Suvatanta Iti Mat Anasajayate. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, a martyr arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. Does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification. If you just look at that, senses and sense gratification, right? It's because you know you're not the senses and you're not actually enjoying the chocolate in the direct way, and you're the soul. It's just not the way. It's not the way the system is set up. It's an illusion. Thank you. Yep. So what does this? So if we go, does not engage himself in the sense and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. Right? He doesn't want to work for the fruits of his reactions, material reaction. Why would you? If you're totally convinced you're not the body, you don't want that. You're going to want what the soul needs to have. The soul needs to have Krishna. Needs to do Bhakti. Right? So you automatically, by understanding 3.27, you get into this conduct 3.28. It just happens naturally. And these concepts here kind of crack open most of the Bhagavad Gita. You see them repeated in various ways. So if we go to, I think it's 14.5, just before we finish. 14.5, so let me just check I'm right, because I'm doing this by memory. Yeah.
As the word Mahabaho again.
Yeah. That's describe marriage, isn't it?
Very mighty armed one.
Okay, so if you look at the second sentence, when
14th chapter, text 5.
14th chapter, text 5, sorry. Is yours still when, the eternal?
Yeah, material nature consists of 3 modes.
Yep, the second sentence.
When the living entity come in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes.
So this is, like, one of the things I've got to point out is this is not the body comes into contact with nature. This is the soul comes into contact with material nature, i.e. in this body, or in this material world. He gets immediately, the rules of the material world are, you get 3 modes on you, bang. 3 stamps, bang, bang, bang. 1 stamp will be bigger than another. Putin, Stalin, Hitler, where the difference. And of course, Krishna then explains what happens to these people when they're in those modes.
Seems like the original book translation is more accurate than this one.
Yeah, but I've got a friend, devotee, whose wife refuses to read the modern version, which I think.
So why they have changed the version? It's written by Prabhupada.
But that's what everyone is saying.
Yeah, I think I actually think there's.
That's the
I think they're both. To be honest, they're all equally. There's some slightly better tweaks, and some things that which maybe shouldn't have been tweaked. I personally think, and this is a completely subjective view, I think the later version is slightly easier to read, just slightly on some of the translations, they're more accurate, you know. But I honestly think if you're reading the Bhagavad Gita to the level where you're like looking at the differences, you're already doing extremely well. Just if you're going to that, oh, let me check this verse against that one. What could that mean? The difference, you're like in the minutiae of difference.
So like this one says, "Oh, mighty armed Arjuna," but the word by word thing doesn't say Arjuna. This is "Oh, mighty armed one."
Yeah, which I mean, to make it easier, it might be, oh, are we talking about Krishna or Arjuna or some other person on the battlefield?
So, do you have the latest version?
Oh yeah, do you want it?
No, I'm just for this text, the same one, 14.5. What would you have? Can you just read it out for me?
Yeah. Have you got it in front of you, Pradeep? Pradeep can read it because I've lost my page. 14.5.
Yeah, the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature.
Oh yeah. Because
Still, because he has become
Yeah,
conditioned.
the most important thing is that you're not you're the soul, and the soul, as soon as it goes into material energy, is subject to three modes of material nature. Which you're what you think you are is not actually who you are. To put it simply.
well, we live in a material world, like we can't just disconnect anything.
Well, you don't have to. You have to do yoga. You have to reconnect to Krishna. So you have to do everything with the mindset that this material energy belongs to who? It belongs to Krishna. The chemicals that make your body up, which is not you, belong to Krishna. So you ultimately, through bhakti and understanding jnana yoga, you will get to a point where there'll be a moment, it'll be like a 3-week period or a 2-month period, when you'll go, this doesn't belong to me, this is Krishna's energy, I have to use for Krishna, so I have to now rethink, I can do all the same stuff, I have to then connect everything I do and it becomes naturally connected, right? So the moment there'll be like, I'm assuming, there'll be like, I'm enjoying for myself, I'm working for myself, that there's a bit of me in that. Me meaning I'm the body. I'm getting on the bus to work. No, the soul is in the body which is getting on the bus to work. That's what you have to say to yourself. Because if you don't start correcting that, you'll be living like a conditioned soul like everyone else. That's very difficult because the whole world around you, it's like, imagine that out of your mouth is coming English, but actually everyone else is doing Japanese. And that's where eventually you'll start realizing it's like two different worlds. And so if you know your body belongs to Krishna, then for example you know that your body has to go and do darshan of the deity in the temple, because otherwise the soul is not recognizing what it's borrowing and who it's borrowing from. Yeah? It has to do naturally. It's not just we will do bhakti because you're in this conditioned state, and you don't want to be in a conditioned state. And you have to start feeding yourself that language, because that's what's going to accelerate your bhakti. Because what will happen is the less mental time you'll spend frustrated about the world, because it's not you. Why bother too much with it? Eventually you'll be like, just you're standing on a very windy day in the beach in the water, just the waves just hitting you quite hard, right? But it's just like, but it's a bit of wind today. It's the wind that's causing the waves. Like, so it's not going to affect you to the point where you're going to get up and go, let's chant, bang, let's do it. I'm here. I'm on my way out. We do it in England. They go to, there's a football final. We're going to say, I'm on my way to Wembley, which is where the football final happens. So you go, I'm on my way to Godhead. I'm on my way to Godhead. They sing this in the pubs. I'm on my way to Wembley. So it's got to be like that. So you go, okay, because you're absorbing this. The soul is actually absorbing this as I'm speaking through here. It's going in. A super soul seeing that. So it's already it's going to happen. It's not going to happen straight away, bang, but it's going to happen. As soon as you start chanting, and then you're bringing the knowledge into it. It's just at some point you're going to cut that umbilical cord with the material world. You'll be in it. You'll be going to work, but you won't be in it. Right? Like you might possess you for a moment. Oh, what's happened? I'll type this up, you know. But hang on a minute, it's not me. It's my psychological nature, which is product of my previous lives. Calm down. I mean, I used to react like, effing, you know, emails out, how do you suggest this? And I used to be litigation wise, so people are just killing each other for their clients, right? I don't approach it like that. I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm not in this body. Why are you even getting worked up about it? You know, I mean, they're getting worked up because they think they're the body. But everyone needs to calm down. And once you get this, you understand what's wrong with the world, why it's going wrong, why we're destroying the environment. Because we're trying to enjoy something that simply cannot enjoy itself in any satisfactory way. How can the soul enjoy through a body which isn't what it is? It's like you start feeding the food to the car and you forget about the driver. Prabhupada uses the exact example. Eventually he starts going, I need some water. Where's my sandwich? Next Le Mans 24 hours, doesn't get hungry. You know, it's not going to be fun anymore. No matter how good this body is, it's just not going to be fun anymore. If you're sane, if you're insane, you'll carry on enjoying it, even as the soul dies inside. Without God, it's just like, that's the false ego. It depends how big your false ego is. As soon as you have bhakti, it's like, you know those springy things, toys you get? So you have bhakti, like squashing the spring back. The false ego is just going. Because you're understanding that you belong to Krishna. You're his part. You're actually a part of him. It's gone away. You know? All these movies they make of like the kid goes off somewhere when he's 8, gets kidnapped by aliens and comes back, you know, when he's 40 and he's still 8 and everyone else is old aged and whatever it is. And, you know, a Disney movie and it's like, oh, I'm back now, spiritual world. Yeah, God, what do I do? You know? You are envious of Krishna, you want to play God. What's the best way to go play God? Go into the world. One of the best ways to play God in the mature world is to have children. For most people, they're not having kids for Krishna, they're having it because they ultimately actually want to play God. They think that the body, with some extension of the body, oh, I'm in control. It's an expansion of the illusion of control. The ultimate expansion. You know? And my dad will sit there, he'll go, wow, this grandchild will get this grandchild will get that. It's like, you're going to die soon. Like, what are you doing? Like freaking chant, Hare Krishna.
Isn't that every day?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's. But you have to understand them from going, they're under control of the nature, the previous lives. They're not. What can I do? Let me show them a picture of Krishna. Let me try and accelerate their journey out. Because once we're all back, the spiritual world will be going. It's like, was that a moment? It's like, did I just oversleep for a second? What do you realise? Kadamba Kanala Swami used to say, you'll just wake up and you'll be in Vrindavan and you won't even remember anything. You know, someone will bring you some cake, no matter how much of it you eat, because it's a spiritual world, it won't matter. Because you'll be eating with Krishna, you'll be eating for Krishna. Because if you had so much prasadam and offered so much food, you know how to eat with Krishna, so you can go back to the spiritual world. You're not going to make a mess of it this time. So next week I will get ahead in another car, so we can do a more accurate example. Anything else?
No.
Right. All good? Okay.